Hey, it's Dave from the Werks, and nearly every day we get phone calls and messages asking for replacement volume controls. I always ask, why are you replacing your volume control? And I always get the same thing. I went through a rainstorm and then a few days later my volume down no longer would work. So today I'm going to show you how to take these apart and how to clean them, because they're not defective. There are switches in here, and those switches just oxidize a little bit and then they stop working. And so today I'm going to show you how to clean them. Okay, to do this you're going to need a few tools. We're going to need a small Phillips screwdriver, and we'll talk about that more again in a second. You're going to need an X-Acto knife, some Q-tips, and some isopropyl alcohol. Try and get the strongest percentage isopropyl alcohol that you can get. The lower the percentage, the more extra stuff there is in it that you just have to clean off later on. So this is what we're going to need. So to get started, on the back here, there are 4 small screws, and you can see that this control is pretty rusty here. And you need a small screwdriver here that will fit those screws tightly. You want to make sure that that screwdriver fits in there well. These screws come out fairly easy, but sometimes they're rusted. And you want to make sure that you're going to be able to get them out of there without damaging them. So we're going to take these 4 screws off. This will move the front of the unit. From there, we can just simply remove this front faceplate here. And inside of here, we've got the controls. This cable on the back here, we can just push through the rubber grommet, and this will give us some working room. And on here, when you look at it, there's a circuit board, and there is this rubber switch membrane that goes over the front. This you can just peel off the front like this, and now we get down to what we really need to clean and take a look at. So let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit, if the camera will focus. So here what we have is there is a plastic piece of film over the tape of this. It's like a cellophane tape. It's sticky on the back, and underneath here we've got these little metal silver contacts, and when you push down on them, they deform and they hit the circuit board underneath there and make contact. And as we can see here, the volume down button on this is very corroded. So what we need to do is carefully peel back this tape. And let me see if I can do this here. You have to just sort of catch this edge here and get underneath it and peel that tape back. Be patient, don't rush. Just get underneath that edge there between the green circuit board and the tape, and work your X-Acto knife around the edge here. And carefully peel this tape back. Okay? And once you get that corner out here, once you get this corner peeled up right here, you're going to be able to remove this little metal tab that's underneath here. And if we zoom in here, you see how corroded and oxidized that is there? And we need to clean that. So we're going to remove the little metal tab there. Oh, I almost lost it. And I'll put this on my hand here. And so this is the front side of the tab. If I flip this over, you can see how corroded and oxidized that is there. We need to get all that oxidation cleaned off of there for this to work again. And when we look at the control underneath here, peel this plastic back. Be very careful. There is a gold contact in the middle here, and there is a contact around the edge. And that little metal tab touches the edge, and then when you push down on it, it makes contact in the middle here. And we can see that this is very heavily oxidized in here, so I'm just going to take this X-Acto knife here, and very, very lightly, I'm just going to scrape that heavy oxidation off there. Go around all these edge points here. Clean that off. Some very fine sandpaper, like maybe some 1000 grit or 2000 grit sandpaper would work also. And then we're going to take our Q-tip, and I've got a little container of alcohol here that I keep on my bench. And we're just going to get a little tiny bit of alcohol on here. And we're going to get in here and clean these contacts real good. Clean all that corrosion out of there. Get all that gunk out of there. And it's got to be shiny and gold again when we get done. And this may take several steps to do. Very lightly rubbing this down here to get all the major oxidation off. One of the other things we can try here is a pencil eraser. Sometimes that'll be enough to get in there and get that major stuff off of there. And I'll work on this a little bit more off camera. I don't want to bore you with that, but we're going to keep scrubbing it, cleaning it, scrubbing it, cleaning it, scrubbing it, cleaning it until that's perfectly shiny. We need to do the same thing on the back of this little metal tab here. And this is real tricky to do. It's so small. You can try some contact cleaner on the metal here. I find a little bit of sandpaper. Very, very fine grit sandpaper works. A pencil eraser may work. A pen eraser would probably actually work better on here, but that metal's got to be all shiny when we get done. So hang on a second. We'll be right back, and I'll show you what it should look like when we get done. Okay, so after a bit of cleaning, a little bit of elbow work here, can you see how much shinier that is? Still a little dull in the middle, but that's just the gold that's worn off there. That will still work electrically. So, working on this small little metal tab here, you gotta just be very patient. Work your way in here. Cleaning this. I'm taking a little emery board here also and just very lightly getting some of the major corrosion off of in there. Just polishing up those contact points, polishing up the middle. This little metal piece is concave, and it's so small I don't know if I can get this for you to be able to see this. I don't know if that helps or makes it worse. But you see how that it's sort of concave there, and of course the camera won't focus. But it bends in the middle, and when it bends in the middle, it makes contact with that center switch point down there. So it's got to be very clean. So we're just going to go through here, keep scrubbing and cleaning until that point is nice and shiny. See how much better that looks? We're going to just lightly sand these points down here on the edge here. Trying not to drop it and lose it. Taking our alcohol and cleaning it. Then when we get done, we're going to take this, and it's going to take a little bit of effort here. Where's my X-Acto knife? And we want to line this up back up in the middle here again. So that way it's touching the four pads here the best we can. And of course my X-Acto knife is magnetic, so I'm going to use a little pencil here to move this around. And I hope you guys can see that here. We want to get that lined back up on those four pads like that, and then carefully lay this plastic back down over it. And when you get done, when you push on it, it'll make contact on that pad back there on the bottom. Just give that a rub back down there. Make sure that's all down real well. If your plastic is damaged like on this one here, you see how this plastic is actually worn away here. We can actually put cellophane tape over the top of it here to hold that down in place. And then when we get done, you just put your rubber part back on here and put it back down, and now your control will work. And I'll show you how to test this here in a minute. If you have a digital multimeter, I'll show you how to test it. Stay tuned, be right back. Okay, now that we have our control back together, the next thing we want to do is we want to look into the end of this plug here. And we can see that there's some dirt and schmutz and corrosion down in here. So I'm going to take a Q-tip in here, clean out as much of that as I can. We're going to spray a little bit of electrical contact cleaner in here. This is WD-40. Sorry about the glare there. WD-40 Specialist Electrical Contact Cleaner Spray. I'm just going to give this a quick spray here off camera so it doesn't get on the camera. Give that a little bit of a spray. Take a clean Q-tip. Without bending the pins in there, we just want to sort of dab it in there and make sure that those pins all look nice and clean in there. That looks much better already. Now, when you look at this plug on here, you'll notice that there is 2 black wires. It's actually one black wire that comes down, loops around, and comes back up into this plug. This control actually works off of just these 2 wires, the orange wire and the white wire. And when you push a button, it switches a resistor in and out of circuit to change the resistance value, and that's how the radio knows what button you're pushing. So I'll show you how to connect a digital multimeter to these 2 wires, and we'll take some readings, and I'll show you what it should look like. Okay, so here we are with our digital multimeter, and the first thing I'm going to do to make it easier to get onto these contacts is very gently pry this silicone gasket up from the back here. You don't want to cut it, so be careful with your knife. You just want to pry it up a little bit. Use whatever small poking tool you've got. This X-Acto knife is pretty dull, so I'm okay using it. And we're just going to move that out of the way so we can reach some wires into these connectors here on the back. Focus camera. And I've just got some small pieces of cutoff resistor here stuck on my leads to make it easier to get in and back probe these connectors. So we're going to plug these 2 in here on the orange and on the white wires, making sure they don't touch each other. And if all is well and we can get this to stay put, we should see about 15K of resistance, 15 kilo ohms of resistance at rest. As we push a function, this resistance should change. So if we push the volume up, I'm going to have to clean that control. So let's try here, tune up. We should see 3K. Tune down. We should see 4.6 or about 4.7K. For mode, about 322 ohms, 320 ohms, something like that. And each time when you let go, it should go back to 15K. If we go down to the pre button here, we should see about 100 ohms. For volume down, this is the one we just cleaned. We should see 1.92 ohms. But you can see here that my volume up is still not working. It's changing a little bit, but if I push down real hard, it should be about 1K. So that one needs to be cleaned also. So I'll have to take this one back apart and clean it again also. And see, it's just not making contact. But when it does make contact in there, sometimes you can wiggle it around a little bit, and it'll be right about 1K ohms, something like that. But you can see our volume down that we've cleaned is working just fine, 1.29. And I think part of this is every time I'm doing this, I'm wiggling my probes over here. Let me see if I can hold this a little bit stiller. See, now it's working just fine, but I'm wiggling my probes. 4.7, 3K, 100 ohms, give or take, 330 ohms, 320 ohms, something like that. So that's how this control should work when you get done. I'm going to have to fix this volume up on here, so I'll have to take it apart, and I have to clean those contacts up on there. For whatever reason, it's the volume controls that seems to always go bad on these units. Just disconnect this here. The water gets into these controls, and for whatever reason, it seems to affect these the most. I don't know why it doesn't affect these, but it can also. The water just seems to collect in here, and then it corrodes those contact points in there, and they go bad. So I've got another one here. Let's take a look at. Oh, here it is. So this one I already have the housing completely off of, and the wires have been cut on it. So we can open this up, and we can see that this looks a little bit different. And right off the bat, you can see the corrosion that's right here on this side, and that is the mode and pre side. But over here is where those contacts are for the volume. So again, we're just going to get our knife on the edge here and try and carefully pry back the white tape layer on here. And I'm just sort of working my way around, very carefully making sure I don't tear it, peeling this back a little bit at a time, working my way around. And there you can see our metal contact in there. And we're just going to peel that back all the way around. There we go. And there we can see our metal contact. This one's actually pretty clean. And see how clean this spot is? And again, when the middle of this, when you push down on that button, the middle of this flexes in and touches and makes a connection from here to this gold path on the outside. It just makes a connection from here to here. So if that water happens to get in here and corrosion sits in here, even if it looks clean, sometimes it won't work. There'll be just enough oxidation on the layer on there, on the outside layer, just a tiny bit of oxidation. So just get in there with a Q-tip and some cleaning solution. Some rubbing alcohol will work just fine. Isopropyl alcohol, contact cleaner. Clean those pads on both sides. Lay this back down again. Make sure when you push it, it should have a nice firm clicking feeling. And then you can put it back together again. So that's it. That's how you fix your volume controls. You know, we get calls for these constantly. They're expensive. You know, we sell these for anywhere from $100 to $125 each. On eBay, they're even more than that. They're getting hard to get, and they don't need to be replaced. They just need to be cleaned 99% of the time. I hope this video helps you. All you have to do is take these apart, clean them, and you should be back on the road again. Dave from the Werks. Have a good one.